Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, today we're unpacking a truly massive shift in how we create and edit media. We're looking at Google's new Gemini Omni Flash model, and honestly, it's promising to fundamentally change the entire video production landscape. So let's just dive right into it. For the longest time, generating and editing video using AI has been, well, incredibly clunky, right? But Google is throwing down a completely new architecture that promises to put an end to the fractured, multi-step process we've all grown so painfully used to.
Just imagine a workflow for a second where you actually talk to your editing software instead of wrestling with complex timelines, keyframes, and just endless layers. Picture this. Instead of starting from scratch every single time you need to make a tiny tweak, you just tell your system, hey, dim the lights, or change the camera angle, and it just listens to you. That is the exact premise behind Gemini Omni.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to hit 6 steps. 1. The AI video problem. 2. Enter Gemini Omni. 3. The multi-turn revolution. 4. Solving character consistency. 5. The engine behind it all, VO and flow. And finally, 6. Limits and safeguards. Let's get to it. Section 1. The AI video problem. Why generative video has been so frustrating.
So, video has historically been the hard problem of generative AI, mainly because it absolutely demands temporal coherence. Everything has to flow smoothly over time. For years, the industry basically handled this by treating AI generation like a relay race. Think about how older systems actually work. You type a text prompt, which gets handed off to an image model to generate a still frame. Then that still frame gets passed to a video model to animate the motion. And finally, those frames are handed off to an audio model to guess what the whole thing should sound like. It's a lot of handoffs.
And you can really see the contrast between these approaches. On the old split stock, Imagen for images, VO2 for video, and a totally separate system for audio, the problem with that relay race is your creative intent literally leaks away at every single handoff. But then we have the unified model approach. Omni collapses this entire stack into a single forward pass that processes absolutely everything simultaneously. It's night and day. Section 2. Enter Gemini Omni. Anything in, anything out. Now you're going to hear the terms omnimodal and any-to-any thrown around a lot in this space. Let's demystify these buzzwords right off the bat. Basically, it means the model doesn't just translate one format to another through a pipeline. It understands context across all formats at the exact same time. So the absolute game changer here is that you can input a rough, hand-drawn sketch, a text script, and an audio clip of, say, a heartbeat all at once, and the model will seamlessly reason across all of them to output a cohesive cinematic video clip. No middleman required. As Google DeepMind's CTO Cora Kavukcioglu points out, Gemini Omni Flash is a model that can create anything from any input, starting with video. They are starting with the absolute hardest modality, which is video. And because they believe in this new architecture so strongly, they're not holding back. They are immediately rolling out the first variant, Gemini Omni Flash, directly into the Gemini app, the new Google Flow Filmmaker interface, and even straight to YouTube Shorts. Section 3. The multi-turn revolution. Say goodbye to starting from scratch. If you've played around with early AI tools, you absolutely know the pain of typing out a massive prompt and having to start entirely over if it's just slightly wrong. Omni completely stops this penalty of iteration. Let's walk through this sequence. Step 1. You generate a video of a violinist. It looks great, but maybe the background is just wrong. So in step 2, you just tell the AI, hey, transport them to a new environment. The AI remembers your violinist and simply swaps the background. Step 3, you say, turn the violin invisible. The musician keeps bowing, but the instrument just vanishes. Step 4, you ask to change the camera angle to be over their shoulder. As you can see, the scene evolves instruction by instruction. The model remembers the whole thread of the conversation. It doesn't just randomly reset. Section 4, solving character consistency, keeping faces and figures stable. Historically, if you asked an AI to generate the exact same character twice, you'd end up with this weird shape-shifting protagonist. It was so frustrating. But now, Gemini Omni anchors character consistency across multiple generations. When you use a reference image or text to define a character, the model locks in stable elements. We're talking facial features, clothing, props, body proportions, and even how they transition from scene to scene. It all remains strictly stable. This is a huge, huge deal, especially for brand marketing teams that need visual consistency across campaigns or creators who are trying to make serialized short-form content with a highly recognizable persona. Section 5. The engine.
VO and flow, the brain, the hands, and the interface. To really understand how Google pulls this off, we have to separate the reasoning from the rendering. Think of Gemini Omni as the brain. It handles the language, the logic, and that crucial multi-step context of your conversation, but it doesn't actually draw the pixels. VO3 acts as the hands. VO3 is Google's dedicated video generation model that actually synthesizes the high-quality video based on Omni's instructions. And finally, Google Flow is the interface. It's the AI filmmaking workspace where you, the creator, actually interact with both the brain and the hands. Because VO3 is doing all the heavy visual lifting, we should definitely highlight its specific upgrades. Most notably, VO3 features native synchronized audio. This means the sound of footsteps, ambient room noise, and even dialogue are generated directly alongside the video, rather than just being bolted on afterward by a totally separate model. It also brings much higher fidelity motion, longer clip durations, and far better prompt adherence, so the final cut actually matches what Omni tells it to do. Section 6. Limits and Safeguards, a reality check on the hype. Now, while the potential here is undeniably incredible, it is vital to look at what this model still struggles with. Take the Trebuchet Test, for example. Google claims Omni has an intuitive grasp of real-world physics, like gravity and kinetic energy. However, testers over at DataCamp ran a prompt asking for a trebuchet launching a clay pot, and then asked it to apply a tapestry-style transfer to the clip. Well, the result was visually stunning, but the physics completely broke down. The trebuchet literally ended up launching backward. It's a pretty funny reminder that fine-grained physical accuracy, complex motion, and hyper-specific actions can still glitch out big time. We're looking at an acceleration layer here, not a flawless simulation of reality. We also have to take a sober look at the competitive landscape. 1,269. That is the current ELO score for ByteDance's CDance 2.0 on the Artificial Analysis Video Arena, which is essentially the industry standard leaderboard right now. CDance 2.0 is the current public leader. Google actually didn't publish numeric benchmarks alongside the Omni launch. They opted instead for capability claims. So while Omni's multi-turn features are revolutionary for sure, independent benchmarks are still pending, and the race for raw visual quality is incredibly tight right now. With the ability to remix real footage so seamlessly, provenance is no longer just a nice-to-have. It is absolute table stakes. So every Omni output ships with built-in safeguards. First up is Synth ID. This is an invisible watermark embedded directly into the pixels, and it's durable enough to survive cropping and filtering. Second, it includes C2PA cryptographic content credentials, which attach metadata securely right to the file. And lastly, to protect users from deepfake harms, voice generation is currently limited to digital avatars, meaning you can only generate speech using a verified digital version of yourself. Just to ground this explainer in practical reality, let's talk about what it currently costs to access these tools in the US right now. OmniFlash is rolling out within Google's consumer AI tiers. AI Plus gets you in the door at $7.99 a month for 200 credits. AI Pro sits at $19.99 for 1,000 credits, and the enterprise-focused AI Ultra scales up to $249.99 a month. So we've seen how Gemini Omni, powered by Veo 3, finally moves us away from the frustrating relay race of the past and into a unified conversational workflow. It solves those massive consistency issues, speeds up iteration, and opens up entirely new ways to conceptualize visual storytelling. So I'll leave you with this provocative thought. If you can edit reality simply by having a conversation with your computer, what will you create first? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.